maybe. In fact, though, Ribka is just recommending just munching on h7. So let's go back. So Queen g4 has some tactical idea now that the Queen's quite flexible in some variations to be able to play either Queen h4, Queen g7, also maybe supporting Bishop e6 in some lines, because I'll show you another line now. Knight a6. Well, this is fascinating. Knight e4 again here, because now look, sacking a whole bishop is actually good for white here. Again, Queen f4, Queen h4, just eyeing f6. Amazing. So Queen f4, and this kind of position. Now Knight d6. Look at this, forking the Queen in f7. So there was some compensation in some variations. So it didn't necessarily have to vanish so quickly as it did. So it's amazing, with black giving up that dark squared bishop and protecting f6. But f6 is a vulnerability here, tactically. But to really work out why, a concrete reason why, would require a lot of calculation. I thought there were some other vulnerabilities in the position. Let's go back for Bishop e6 demonstration, actually. So here, if Bishop c6, look at this, Bishop takes e6. So it's another tactical justification for the Queen g4 move. You know, Queen g7, picking up the rook. So the king protects the queen, and it's pretty dire for black. So what would black do actually if Queen g4? Well, h5 might be a good move apparently. Just to kick that queen, commit it to a dark square, you know, if it's going to be useful attacking f6. And now, let's see, Bishop c6, does that finally work here? Well, there's no Bishop e6s now because there's no Queen g7s. The Queen's been committed to a passive square. Black's apparently better here. So h5. So Queen g4 wasn't that good, except, you know, it sets some traps. What I played was actually Queen h5, and that apparently is a small advantage for white, this position. So after Bishop c6, I started really messing up my position now. I was excited with the prospect of developing the rook automatically with f4 and f5. So what are the positional considerations here which mean that f4 and f5 isn't such a hot idea? Well, first of all, you know, if black gets enough time, he's going to use the g-file and attack my king. The second point is, you know, f4 is a target on f4, so committing the rook to stay on f1, so the queen's always eyeing f4. But when it goes to f5, then also, you know, if black can arrange knight d7 to e5, black's getting some dark squares, maybe here and here. If there's a pawn here on f5, then I've lost control of e5 and g5. So those are the positional considerations. So instead of f4, say rook fe1, knight d7. Has white got any compensation whatsoever here? In fact, Ribka's recommending just trying to get rid of this bishop. So bishop b5, but black's better here in these variations. I've got no real attack against the black king, but at least black's only, you know, fractionally better apparently. So knight e4, there's some problems for black. It's not as easy as the game. So what happened in the game which was so bad? So why is f5 so bad? So knight d7, and here I carry on with f5. So Ribka's suggestion is rook f2 here, but black's already better, but I make black a lot better now with f5. So rook ag8, I'll have to defend now rather meekly, and now my opponent plays rook g5. So I play queen h6, trying to at least you know, pick up this h7 pawn if black wants to double up rooks. Here though, you know, it's already quite a crushing position. In fact, you know, black is crushing white here, because look at this, queen e5, so making use of that e5 square with the queen. So what is the point of that, you might ask? The point is that white's vulnerability in this position, as well as that g-file, is if if this rook gets pinned with something like queen e3 or queen c5, then black is immediately threatening rook takes g2 check. So let's see that idea in action with a variation. Bishop b5, queen e3, just pinning that rook, now threatening rook takes g2, and by the way also threatening queen takes queen, so winning the queen. And Rybka gives the best move as white for bishop takes c6. Oh there. So rook g2, king takes, queen takes h6, rook takes b7. This is completely hopeless for white, this kind of position. So let's go back. So this queen e5 would have been quite nasty. My opponent starts letting me off the hook a little bit. He plays rook hg8, and apparently there's a very brave move to play here, which I can't believe, which is g3. I thought black could just take on g3 here, but maybe, you know, white's surviving. King f1. Is white surviving? It seems black still is better by at least one pawn, according to Rybka. So I didn't fancy that. I just meekly defended with bishop f1. So it's not a very good turnout so far, this game. My initial b-file pressure has been reduced to nothing. The bishop on c8 is a monster now on c6, just eyeing my king. The rooks are very well coordinated on the g-file. Black's king's totally safe. Black has control of the e5 square, and there's also menacing threats of queen e5 to c5 or e3. We could consider this a complete unmitigated disaster. And here, let us recall the advice of Fat and Mad, my good friend Kostas Karyonis, about the well-timed draw offer. This is a very useful resource, especially when the opponent only has about 12 minutes to play the rest of his moves to reach the time control. He plays e takes f5, letting me off the hook a little bit, so none of this queen e5 to c5 business. I take on h7, and now he plays knight e5, and I play queen h3 with the idea of, you know, protecting g2, but also my queen can swing back maybe to a3. Here my opponent had another crushing move, knight g4 apparently. So why is this crushing? Well, as well as the queen now eyeing h2, is attacking my rook. So say I move my rook, king f8. Now there's all sorts of threats. Say rook b3. Black has queen d6 if he wants, with the idea of either queen c5 or queen d4 check. Another nice little move might be just king g7, with the idea of just rook h8 using the h file as well. So so much also for these treble pawns being ugly. Black doesn't mind about that if every single piece is attacking my king here. Queen and knight as well now on h2. So basically my opponent plays though queen d7, and the evaluation shifts dramatically down to just minus 0.61. So here is the well-timed draw offer. I play queen a3 check and I offer a draw. One of the things I had realised, by the way, is you know, if I want to go on this expedition to win the a7 pawn, then there's the rude awakening of queen d5, very quickly coordinating even more pressure on g2, and my position's falling to bits. So say check, king h1, and here it comes, rook takes g2. So say bishop g2, rook takes g2, very unpleasant, and completely lost for white. So basically the well-timed draw offer with queen a3, and thankfully my opponent accepted. So I'm sorry about that. I think it's a case of vanishing compensation from the opening. But definitely I think it's useful to have a good system against this queen takes d5, which maybe in a future video we'll have a look at to see what there is against this. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments on YouTube. Thanks very much.